Hello everyone, this is Plasma Dragon 15 here with the black and white UU battle against the TheSuperJai. I just asked him for a UU battle and he said sure, and I'm pissed off in this battle. So I lead off with my Galad because I know he's going to lead off with Ambipom and Fake Out, so I use Steadfast to abuse that fact, and I'm like, okay, I'm a fighting type with a band, +1 speed, against a normal type Ambipom with the flimsiest defense ever. You're obviously going to switch out into Zapdos to take the close combat, right? Stone Edge, but he stays in for some godforsaken reason, and I lose Galad because of it. So I go out into Sceptile, he goes out into his Flygon, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna just go into Donphan and take the obvious U-turn, because all Flygons are Scarf, because there's such a creative set, right? So I'm like, okay, here's just Shaman. I don't know what kind of Shaman this is yet, so I'm gonna go into my Overcooked Moltres. And he goes for the Leech Seed, and I'm like, oh, it's a Subseeding Shaman. That's pretty cool. I can wall your entire set with Sceptile, except for Hidden Power Ice. So you're obviously going to switch out with the Grass type against a Fire Flying Moltres, right? That can one-hit KO you with Fire Blast because I'm modest max special attack, right? No, he stays in, goes for Substitute. I'm like, what? Why would you substitute when I can just Fire Blast you and one-hit KO you with one hit? That makes no sense in whatsoever. And then he goes for this, so I go into Cobalion, because I can wall Seed Flare and Hidden Power Ice. So obviously you're going to switch, right? So I go into my Sceptile to take the Leech Seed, because for some reason I know he's going to stay in and go for Leech Seed, and I'm like, okay, you're going to switch out with Shaman, because the point of Subseeding is the Leech Seed, and you can't Leech Seed a Sceptile, so you're obviously going to switch into something to take Hidden Power Ice, right? No, he stays in, goes for Hidden Power Ice, and I ended up getting the crit with Leaf Storm, which in all honesty didn't really matter, because I could 2-hit KO him with Hidden Power Ice anyway, plus I have a Moltres that can 1-hit KO him at any given point in time, so Shaman was not a threat whatsoever. It was just weird. So I'm like, okay, he's going to U-turn, I'm going to get the Switch Initiative, leave Sceptile in for Death Fodder. And he's going to go into his quote-unquote Vaporeon, so I'm going to go into I got this. By the way, this is my first time using Cobalion. Let's see how it goes. So I think he's going to switch, so I go for Swords Dance, because he's done some weird plays that I don't understand. So I go for Swords Dance, I'm like, okay, nothing on your team resists both Fighting and Rock, so I can sweep your team with Cobalion, because I know for a given fact that Flygon cannot one-hit KO me with Earthquake, because I have base like 130 defense, and I run calcs on how much an Adamant Flygon will do to me with an Earthquake, and it will not one-hit KO. But Cobalion decides to be a freaking douchebag, miss Stone Edge +2, and it would have one-hit KO because a Burn Stone Edge does that much damage. Oh, does it make perfect sense that Stone Edge has 80% accuracy, Will-O-Wisp has 75%, I miss and somehow he misses, or I miss and somehow he hits with the less accurate move. So at this point, my sweep is ruined, I could have swept the rest of his team, but no. First time I use Cobalion and he decides to fail hardcore. So Cobalion dies. I hate that thing now. And I'm actually surprised I died to that U-turn. But yeah. He goes into Vaporeon, I go into Dory, the Lantern, and I really like Lantern because it's a cool special wall. And yeah. I'm still mad about Cobalion. What a failure. Like, seriously. And I'm like, okay, you're going to switch, right? Because I can wall your entire Empoleon, so I go for Toxic, but I forgot those things typically roar, so that was kind of my bad. So I go into Donphan forcefully, he cannot one-hit KO me with Scald, which I find hilarious, and I Earthquake and one-hit KO him. So that's Empoleon out the way, that wasn't that hard at all. I'm still mad about Cobalion, by the way. So he goes out into Flygon, and I'm like, okay, he's just going to Outrage now, because my Steel type is gone. So that's just dandy. So I go into Dory, the Lantern, and he goes for the Outrage, and I don't know what kind of Flygon this is, I'm not sure if it's Jolly or Adamant, but that doesn't do near, like, that's kind of pathetic, how much damage that does the Lantern, like, I have no defense, Lantern is fragile, like, any normal hit would, like, one-hit KO it normally, especially if it's an Outrage, but that's pretty pathetic, Flygon. So I got into this stupid freaking Rotom that should have died, and let my Cobalion sweep, but no. Then he goes for the Pain Split, and I'm like, ah, that's kind of hurt. And that does a lot of damage, because the Rotom's base HP is suckish. And I go for the Sleep Talk. I actually get the Toxic the first time, which is pretty nice. And then I get rest, which is cool. And then he goes for Pain Split again. I don't understand the reason why, because I did like 5 damage. I mean, should have just gone for Overheat or something. So he does go for the Overheat. And I'm like, okay, I can just go for rest, right? Because, I mean, oh, I go for Discharge. Okay, that's cool. So, he's gonna lose a bunch of health. The poison damage is starting to rack up. I know he's going to switch, like, it's blatantly obvious, but I don't really care. Like, the moment when Cobalion missed Stone Edge, I'm like, okay, I'm just going to lose now, probably. So I would have Toxic Flygon. In all honesty, that probably would have been the better option, but me rest and I can get lucky with Toxic. And whenever he gets himself in confusion, maybe he'll hit himself if he doesn't switch out. So, I go into my Moltres. And, like, all he has left is the Rotom and the Flygon, and I'm Scarfed with Modest Nature. So I lock myself into Air Slash, because Fire Blast isn't that reliable. And it does seem like to be a 2-hit KO on the Rotom unless I get some game in max damage. And I Air Slash again, and I do get the KO. So his Flygon comes back in, and he misses the first Stone Edge, which I find hilarious, because I missed mine, and it costed me the game. But I Air Slash, almost takes it out, but he hits his Stone Edge for some reason, and my Overkick dies. So that was a good game, SuperJai, and I'll see you guys later.